Good evening, Mzansi. This is your man, the pain coach, Moral Mlala, and I'll be with you tonight as this is episode number 3, right? But with that being said, I'm no longer having the same energy as I used to. You know why? Because isn't it said that each and every day our own brothers and sisters are dying? And with that being said, South Africa, I'm pleading to you to do the following things. Firstly, let's normalize to sanitize, right? And after sanitizing, let's also normalize the wearing of masks, right? Because isn't it said that what we see is no longer numbers? Those numbers are becoming our friends, our family members. And it's sad to also know that I might be here now talking to you, and then this will be my last time talking to you. Right? It's so sad that we live in an unpredictable world that even me, this could be my last time talking to you right now, because it's no longer becoming numbers, as I've said, it's becoming our own family, friends, etc., etc. The people that we see, the people that we're close to. This COVID is indeed a thief of our joy and a thief of our own happiness. With that being said, let us take a moment of silence for just a few seconds, and then we'll start with the show. Thank you. I'm inviting my massive speaker. Come on, are ready? On point? Wait again. Things are busy on the price stand. Can marinate from where I am? Because Kagiso Mphahlele will be marinating us, or he'll be feeding us with the massive content. You know, I remember the first day I met this young boy. It was back in 2018? I think it was 2018. Surprisingly, God aligned us, and we spoke on an event together. And that was a day that massive things started to happen. And you know why? Simply because we took the initiative and the necessary precautions and measures to ensure that not only are we being friends, but we being business partners. Not only are we bringing impact, we bring massive impact. With that being said, Kagiso Mphahlele, let me add Kagiso. Seems like Kagiso is having connectivity issues. Seems like Kagiso get like sanitizer. You're not fun. How are you?
Oh, about time.
How are you doing, my brother?
You know how I answer this question, eh? And I'm going to educate the audience as well. So emotionally, I'm doing well with regards to friendships, relationships, and stuff like that. I still have that attachment with people. I still feel and have those connections. Mentally, I'm doing well with these times. You know, there's no anxiety, no depression. I'm just, managing it so well. Spiritually, so much spiritual growth. Whenever you help people, you then realize that your time on earth was indeed a fruitful time. So there's so much spiritual growth. And lastly, physically, I'm so tired. I had so much learning going on today. So that's me in a nutshell. And how are you? Because the question of I'm just doing fine does not give us an answer. So how are you in all areas on personal development?
Okay, because today seems like I'm gonna learn a lot. First, girl, apparently the way I'm supposed to answer, I need to start with emotional, physical, spiritual, etc. Either way,
Yeah.
Emotionally, I'm massive. Physically, I'm a bit tired because I was traveling. And then spiritually, I'm more and more massive. So meaning that everything about me is just massiveness. So with me, everything is profound. I'm happy. And I just appreciate the time that God gave me, that I'm still alive today and I'm still be able to host this show. And I just pray that I host this show until infinity. With that being said, Kagiso, I've been envying to have this conversation with you for the very longest time now, simply because, we are at a pandemic. A lot of people have time to themselves now, which I like to thank God for that. I think that's one of the positives that we need to take from this COVID. A lot of people now have time to themselves, time to introspect, time to think, and time to take massive thinking to develop a massive mindset so that they can make a massive moves. With that being said, Kagiso Mphahlele, just take us through who is Kagiso Mphahlele?
It's a long question for a short space of time, so I'll summarize it. So
Okay, do that, please.
Kagiso, in a nutshell, rather, is a qualified internal auditor. So yes, I studied accounting, and when I got to my third level, I specialized in internal auditing. So I then did my postgrad with BTech internal auditing. So I hold a degree in internal auditing. And yes, I was so much involved in the auditing side. I was also involved in the body side in terms of the Institute of Internal Auditors and Information System and Control Audit. So I was part of that as a student committee. So I was a public relations officer and was very involved with that. But that's what I chose. It as a passion. But what chose me, it's something purely beautiful, and that's what I'm practicing at the moment. So in a nutshell, what chose me is coaching. So I chose auditing as a passion, but coaching is a purpose. That's what chose me. And I'm a life coach. I'm a global coach. I'm coaching in a global space. And I spoke in several seminars, also international webinars. So what I do is that, in a nutshell, I help people to awaken their life purpose. You know, people need to understand that they have been called. So I understand that each and every one of us has a calling to fulfill and a mission to fulfill. That's what I just do. So I awaken the gifts that's already inside of people. So I make sure that they discover what's already inside of them. Not to say they need to seek them, but I just awaken what they already have inside of them. So that's what I do. And from that, I was doing one-on-one session, but I felt like, irrespective of giving so much duration for a client, it's no use of giving them a long session and leaving them there. So I came up with a way where people will just devote to a lifetime commitment. So that's why I came up with the academy. It is called Become Prosperity. Now in the academy, it's all about awakening the life purpose of an individual and taking them throughout a lifetime journey. So irrespective of, let's say we give you 2-hour session to say, we know we're having a boot camp on this and it ends there. It's not used when you compare it to giving someone lifelong tools for a lifetime period. So the academy is based on developing people for a space of a lifetime. You know, that's what I do. Is in the academy, I give them tools, which are online courses. I also give them mentorship, group coaching, one-on-one sessions. So after they awaken their life purpose, is that I just stretch them to make a difference. Now I just hold their hand for a lifetime to make sure that they are what they're meant to be in this place. That's me in a nutshell.
You know, what I like about this session is I've promised people massive content. And to my surprise, everything is paying off. Because apparently, there's something that you choose to do and something that chooses you. Which brings me to this question. Kagiso, can you just elaborate for us? What's the difference between a purpose and passion? Because I'm having a lot of people now who have this confusion. Now, I think I'm called for this, but I'm passionate about this. Actually, is there even any difference between purpose and passion? And also, just to add on that question, is there also a difference between a gift, a purpose, and a passion? Over to you, my brother.
Yeah, I'm loving the questions already. Eh? So with regards to with regards to a purpose and a passion, how I just demonstrate the difference in this is that with the passion, you ask yourself that, what do I want from the world? What is it that I feel like the world should give me? That's a passion. I'm passionate about this. With the purpose, it is just you asking yourself that, what is it that the world wants from me? So that's a purpose. So with regards to a passion, it is you choosing it for self-interested motives. I have a passion on this because I see the perks of it, the benefits of it. So I was passionate about accounting because it had a higher status. Person can be passionate about this because there are so much benefits on this. But then when you compare it with the purpose, it is you loving the both sides of it, you know, the ups and downs. You know, with the passion, it's just the case that when they say who wants to just enroll in this, because they just outline the benefits, we are passionate about this. The next thing, you're passionate about something else. But with the purpose, it is you loving the ups and downs of it, you know, the upsides and the downsides of it. So you can just see sport players, you know, getting so injured, but they still have that spontaneous drive because they love the ups and downs of it. But then for others, they can just say, I want to pursue this, but when they come across the challenges, they just want to give up because they were already driven by the perks, the benefits of it, because it was a passion. But with the purpose, it is you loving the ups and downs of it. So that's how you just outline the difference, to say that with a passion, you choose it because of the self-interested motives, you know, something that has to do with what you love because you're going to profit from it. But with a purpose, it is just to say, it's not about me. It's about me wanting to say, I want to give, I want to serve. That's a purpose. It's not about you taking a decision based on your values or your ideal interests, but then just to say that I just want to serve people on this. I just want to make sure that I become a change on this. That's a purpose. But with a passion, I can just say I'm passionate about this hiking because it gives me that fulfillment. I can be passionate about many things. But then with a purpose, it is aligned to one mission, because you're gonna say my purpose is just to speak and cook, and that it is one mission statement to say, what is your mission statement? My mission statement is just to help people on this. That's a purpose. But with a passion, I can be passionate about many things because I just love the idea of what it gives me in return. But with a purpose, it is just to say, I'm willing to help this kind of people. I'm willing to bring this change in society. So a purpose, it is something that has to do with social interest, but with a passion, rather, it is about self-interested motive to say, I want this. The moment you come across the perks or the challenges, you want to give up because you're driven by the interest. Hence, I say I was passionate about accounting because I had the drive to say it has a high rank status. It has so much remuneration benefits. But then with a purpose, I never knew that coaching will pay off. I never knew that you could charge for coaching because I was all about doing it from an intrinsic drive. I never had those, you know, self-interested pegs of it. It's just the way of a byproduct just coming on this journey. So you spoke also about the gift and the mission and the purpose. So a gift, it is just something that you truly have inside of you. So with regards to gifts, it's not the case that they just come across now. They've just been there. You know, I always said the gift of coaching people, but I was not aware of it because it was just something shy that had to be awakened. So with regards to gift, I always had the gift of coaching. You know, whenever I go around or just attract people with problems, you know, people just come and vent to me to say, I'm having problems with this. But then my friends wouldn't know about them. I'm asking myself, why me? Why am I always the chosen one? You know, when I just go to the bus and just meet across someone, they just vent to me. When I just go to this place, they just vent to me. They was like, I'm having a gift inside. But it was just shy because I was doing it seldomly. Then it came to a point that I had to awaken it. That's when I say that gifts are shy, but then they're already inside people. It's just a matter of awakening them to be so powerful and make a difference in this place.
You said it mouthful, guys. You said it mouthful. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. But
yeah.
Can you just take us through your journey of finding your own purpose? Just a bit about your story, because I'm sitting here wondering, but how do I reach a point in life where I'm actually confident and I can come up with perhaps a conclusive analysis that this is indeed my purpose? How do you come to that conclusion to say, you know what, I think I found the one? This is my purpose. How do you actually find that? How do you actually reach that conclusion to say this is my purpose? Align it with your own story, please.
So, in a nutshell, it is just to say that to bring this clarity to the audience as well, it is that we don't have to seek our purpose. You don't have to come across a journey of self-discovery to say, go find yourself and just realize your purpose. So it is something that has already been there for the longest of time. Now, the problem was that we never paid attention to it, because I remember even with my household, you know, how I just spend time with my relatives and friends. I'll just have times where people vent a lot to me, and I just, you know, come up with this, you know, solution. And I just wondered to myself, how did I even manage to pull that off? You know, it also a case that it then escalated to when I go to varsity. You know, when I go to varsity, I'll just have, you know, so many people venting out to me. So I'm having problems with this. And I'll just have a solution to it. And I just ask myself that, how did I even manage to do this? So it was a case that I'll just see that happening a lot where people vent out to me, but I did not pay so much attention to it until it came to a point that let me just ignore this and go back to the accounting. But then funny thing is that I always wanted to be an accountant, and I also had the vision to say I want to be an accountant, to be a certified internal auditor and stuff like that. But my life did not demonstrate that. So it was a case that I used to spend time at networking events, at seminars where coaches are doing the same thing. So I'll just, you know, visualize those people and be like, I just want to aim for this. I just want to be myself for a living, for a change. I just want to be authentic and get paid for that. So this is the moment where I felt like, okay, it is not possible to just see this as a profession, because where I come from, I could not reference to say, here's a coach, here's my neighbor is a coach. It had to be a case that I always like to ignore it, because I never knew that you could just use it as a profession. So that's why I just attended seminars and networking events and saw people doing it for a living, to say, I also want to do this. That's when I did an introspection to say, which is my favorite quote, maybe the journey of being an accountant was just wrong, but the whole journey was all about unbecoming everything that was not meant to be, and go back to my divine calling and honoring that. So I honor to say, okay, I chose this accounting, but then God, you chose me to do this. Now let me fulfill your duties. That's when I realized that in every case with coaching, it's a case that when I have a client, I just have this inner power within me to say, how did I even manage to pull that off? That's when I realized that it is something of a higher purpose, and I'm just working through God. I'm just God's servant. So that's when I realized that, okay, let me just take this thing as a profession, because now I know it can be monetized. Now I know it can be used as a profession, because I could not have people to reference, but I know that because of that. But after realizing that people were monetizing it and people were doing it as a profession, that's when I took it in this level that I'm doing at the moment.
Okay. No, I get that. But one quick question. Can you confidently say that I too can earn a living by just being me? Because I'm surprised. Can you really earn a living like the best of all? You
Yeah.
become, I don't know. Can you just earn money by just becoming yourself?
So with regards to that question, I'll just put it in a deeper context to say, in business, it's a case that it is long-term based. So even with my coaching, I already know that with the coaching, it is something that is just not going to pay off at the moment. But what am I doing at the moment? I also have vehicles to find the coaching business. I can just have a side hustle of tutoring, which is the kind of thing that I'm doing, the side hustle that I'm doing at the moment. I can just venture into the tutoring space. I can just venture into a part-time job. To say a coaching on its own, it should be a business. And with regards to single person and a juristic person, a business is a business on its own, and it has its own costs and its own revenues. Now, the moment you register the coaching business, it is a case that the moment the revenue comes into play, it is not meant for you, it is meant for the business. But there will come a time or a point where it pays off to a point that you can even pay yourself from that business entity, to say, here's a remuneration for a director. That's when I can just say it can pay off. But at the moment, it cannot be a case that you can just say, I want to just, be myself and start a business of this and just earn from it, because it has its own costs and it has its own revenues. Now, if you just want to say that I want to finance my lifestyle, it can be something purely different from that, because it should run as a business on its own. So that's when we put it in a business perspective, to say, you're going to just say, I'm going into entrepreneurship because I want money now, I want quick fix, because it is a lifelong journey where the coaching business on its own, it is a business that has its own costs like equipment, costs like that. So the moment I just take that and just say I want to live a living out of that, it's going to compromise the growth of the business. So I still have things like side hustle of the part-time jobs of selling the kind of thing that we sell, you and I. So it's just to monetize, to say this can just give me a living, to say I need to have a lifestyle, I need to do my own things. But then the coaching, it's going to grow as a baby to a point that the moment I take care of it, it's going to be a case that it can now take care of me. That's when I can just pay off from the business entity on itself. So we should not take an emotional decision to say, I'm just quitting my job because I just want to be myself. It's a case that the lifestyle, it should be something financed by its own, and the business, it should be financed to create that growth. Because when you take away from the business, there will be no growth. And the good part of the purpose part is that you can just think along ways on how you can just go all about it. Let me just make a typical example on this. Let's say for the accounting space, someone let's say ventured into the accounting space because he had the drive for it. He loved the idea of working with numbers, and now they're currently unemployed. Because you've left the idea of accounting and it has to do with maybe your purpose, you already know that I can just find ways to monetize it. I can just say, I always think about the account. Even though I'm unemployed, I can just say, let me just do something pro bono and just, get from SMEs because you love it. But then with regards to a purpose, if it's not meant for your purpose, you don't think about it, because even if unemployment comes into play, you cannot think about diverse ways on how you can just bounce back. But with me, when the coaching business, because I think so much about it, I can always think about ways on how I can just go and revise and just refine the strategies and just to say, let me just find a way to monetize it. But then if you say that you want to be an accountant, you love doing it, but you don't find ways on how to think about it, how to refine it, to say, how can I just use this qualification? Because you don't spend time thinking about it. You just went there because of it was just a journey of you saying, I'm going to school. But if it's a purpose, it's going to drive you to a point that you always think about diversity and how you can just grow it. So also with regards to you being yourself, it is much easier when you align with your purpose, because that's where your creative thinking comes into play. That's where the likes of brainstorming comes into play, because you always think about this. So it is very important to be authentic, because that's where you can unleash your creative thinking to say, I can always go about refining strategies and monetizing this.
Okay, you're actually proving me, I've been confused for the longest time of this theory I heard a lot in business when they say Gamina Gawena. So by saying that I need to take care of the business so that it can take care of me, they actually prove that theory right. That Gamina Gawena. With that being said, Kagiso, what can you say to somebody listening now? And it's like, Kagiso, I hear you about this purpose and identity, but I'm confused. I think my purpose is this, but I'm not sure. We have people that are confused. It's passion versus, to some, it's passion versus purpose. But to some, they're just confused. Someone is saying, Male, I can see, but I'm not sure whether this is my purpose. What can you say to that particular individual?
So it's a good question. I love it so much. So with regards to purpose, how you can just discover it. It is just to put it in 3 ways, which is something that I've just drafted in my ebook to say, let us put it into the past, the current, and the future. Now, with regards to the past, we pay attention to what transpired back. So what took place in the past. So in the past, it is just to say, what is that one experience that took you to a space of adversity? To say everything that one has to go through, it has to do with something that one has to become. So you just reflect on your past experience to say, what is it that you have experienced in life? Usually it's a case of adversity. Now that experience, it has so much meaning to do with what you have to become in the process. I'll speak about you in this case with regards to pain. You went through pain, and now you're using that pain to create so much awareness and helping people, rescuing people from that pain. But at first, we didn't understand what was the whole experience of this. Why me? Now it is just a case that it has to be a case that with regards to finding your purpose or discovering it rather, it is in 3 stages which I've just drafted in my ebook. To say there's the past, which is something that you went through. It can be the voids as well. What is it that you feel like you have just missed on? People just feel like I just missed out on this. I need to make sure that I just become a change to this. To say, let's say, typical example, you were in a community of limited platforms or limited capabilities or limited opportunities, stuff like that. So the moment you were lacked or deprived on that, you then make it a case that you want to make a change on that. So that has to do with the life story. You heal that, then you become so powerful in the present and use that life story as a power to navigate around the world. That was the past. Now, in the current moment, it is just to do with how we just analyze the human behavior of one person. So it can be the little things that we pay attention to. It can be how you spend your time. Everything that you spend time on, it is something that you value so much. So I spend time on networking and coaching and just having conversations around entrepreneurship and empowerment. I spend time on that. So how do you spend your time? That is the current state, which is the present. How do you spend your time? How do you spend your money? People just say, I don't have money, I'm so broke, but then they spend money on what they value most. You know, if you love fashion, you'll spend money on fashion because you love fashion a lot. It has to do with the present, also with the kind of conversation that you always bring up. You know, when the people speak about conversation that you don't like, you just be mentally absent because you don't like the conversation around that. But then everything that has to do with what you love, you just have to bring it up, the kind of conversation. So you pay attention to a human's behavior. How do they interact with people and stuff like that, and how do they live their life? It also can be a case on time. You know, people just say, I'm so busy, I never have time for this, because you really have time for something that you value. Now that is the whole idea and guideline on the present moment. And going into the future, because it's 3 stages, it is about what do you visualize more, what dominates your thoughts. You know, everything that you think about so much, it then creates a picture in the present. If you maybe think about yellow cars, you're going to spot yellow cars. So it can be a case that also with your thoughts, what is it that you always think about a lot? Every time that you go out, what is that one thing that you always spontaneously spot? It can also be a case that when you also walk into buildings or stuff like that, you can just visualize yourself being on the chair, on the office, doing the same thing. Hence I say, with the coach and speakers, I saw those things from people being performed, and I always had the visualization of it to say, I'm visualizing myself also doing the same. So it is just 3 parts of it, to say the life story, which is the past, the current moment, which is the human behavior, and also going forward, which is the visualization in this regard. So it's a case that if a person is so much conflicted, they can just say, let me just write down all the present moment on how I just live my life. And that's going to be a case that something new will always constantly being shown up. So if it's singing, they'll spend time on conversation about singing, they'll spend time doing singing, they'll spend time on gossip about singing, they'll do research about singing. So it can be a case that there will be some passion coming every now and then, but then that one purpose will always dominate on the answers.
You know, you remind me of this quote. One of the speakers, I think I was in grade 11, mentioned was, your past and present make up your future. And with that being said, Kagiso, thank you very much for that. And that on its own takes me back to my story. You know, right now that you mention it, I can confidently say, this is my purpose, in a sense that right now it provided a lot of clarity for me, you know, because I was telling somebody today that your pain is purposeful. And what do I mean by this? You don't go through challenges for the wrong reasons. You go through challenges because it was meant for you to go through those challenges. But it's not about me today. It's about Kagiso Mphahlele. With that being said, Kagiso, what are your parting ways? In the sense that, but before we get to parting ways, actually, I just remembered. What do you say to somebody who is like, Kagiso, I think nobody understands my purpose? Because we have people that their purpose are too complicated to a sense that it becomes difficult for people to relate and to even understand their purpose. And everywhere they go, they firstly have either to explain or to even clarify. Because you and I think, have a great narration of how we have to explain what coaching is. What kind of coaching do you do? How do you do it? What do you have to say to that particular individual? But before I would like to send shout outs to Leborang. Ari, you guys have great smiles. But besides that, Leborang has been a wonderful audience. She's been attending my events every Monday. And with that, Leborang, massive man. Thank you very much for that. So much marato for you. With that being said, Kagiso, back to you. How then do you have to say to somebody whose purpose is too complicated for people to understand or even navigate?
I love it. I'm loving the questions. I'm loving the questions. With regards to a purpose, what is meant for is that it is just to give you a personal freedom. Now, how do I explain personal freedom? Personal freedom, it is just to say you are choosing a path that is meant for you, and you're just restricting all the imprisoned loud opinions of our society. So it can be the case that in society, it is deemed as immoral what you want to do. it is a case that also with your parents, they don't understand it. You know, it's something like that. So with personal freedom, it is just you choosing to say, I'm honoring the soft voice within the heart, and I'm ignoring the loud opinions of saying that, what are you choosing this? You should choose this, but then you need to honor what is it that you feel like you want to do. Now, with regards to that, also for one, I went through that time because I would just say that, you know, I just want to venture into this coaching and I just want to neglect the accounting. But then there's so much, you know, confusion to say, what is this coaching all about? So it is a case that in most cases, you need to be so firm because you need to disappoint other people. It can be even the closest people around you, you know, even your parents, for one. They can just be so disappointed to say, I just wanted to see you molding out or turning out to be this way, but then you're taking a different turn now. Why are you doing that? And that's where being firm comes into play, because they won't understand that, because where they come from a place where you never had the platforms of being coaches or being platform on choosing careers on the digital space. You know, you always had to choose those careers that were just, you know, so well known, you know, doctors, nurses, accountants. But then with an evolving, life-changing time, it can be a case you can choose something different because it has to do with what you went through. Now, they wouldn't understand that. Now, that's where a case that you can just say, let me take this journey, but at the same time, let them be so much involved. To say, even with my coaching, I always make sure that every time I had a client, I used to communicate. This is what we do. Every time I had a radio interview, please tune in and just listen to what's going to unfold on the interview. Every time I had a session, I always took videos and just, you know, take them on a journey of explaining to them, this is what we do, this is coaching, this is other kind of mentors that I look up to. I also into the space, so I'm also monetizing it. So it was a case that it took me quite a lot of time to convince, until it came to a point that my own mother had to also be an advisory on that, because she understood it in the longest of time where I always kept them in the loop. But then the moment you don't keep them in the loop, they are sidelined, because you should understand that it's not about our parents being hard on us, but they come from a place of mediocrity where you just know be a mediocre. You don't have the ability to be in a way that you can choose good platforms with, because there was limited freedom by then. But then when you get to understand that where they come from, it is okay to say they do not understand. And that's where you come into play, where you can just, you know, communicate, keep them in the loop to a point that they can even be so easily to support you because they understand now. But then the key to that, it is just to say, keep them in the loop and make sure that they understand. And while you're in the journey of purpose, it's not about you choosing a path and following it, but then creating your own path. Because I, for one, I never knew that this way where I can just have people mentoring them for a lifetime, for a life purpose thing. That's when I started something of my own. So it was not there designed before or invented. I did not reinvent the wheel. I then came up with something new, which is something that people don't understand. And I communicated it until to a point that it now makes perfect sense to them. So it's not about you choosing something that is already existing, but you creating a change, which is something that's going to be remembered for in this place.
So it's all about making the difference that makes the difference. With that being said, Sir Mr. Munyadongo says, no one understands purpose than you. You are the owner of the vehicle and you must drive it. Shapakar, you must drive it. And with that, we also have Laura, who is saying, my two favorite human beings. Thank you for your presence. With that being said, Kagiso, you just reminded me of something that does not make sense to a lot of people, which is this baby over here. The untold truth about pain and how to turn your pain into power. Because I consistently have to educate people how pain is a positive thing and why we need pain in our life and why pain isn't it a massive teacher in order for us to grow and in order for us to be where we're supposed to be. With that being said, Kagiso, what is your party with? I hate ending, but unfortunately, what is your party with?
I'm going to say this, and I just want to leave it with the audience to say, I think it's better to honor your soft heart and honor your heart desires and do not conform to society, because when you live on to other people's acceptance, you will die of their rejection. So you need to make sure that you be true to yourself.
Wait. What?
And
Repeat.
you,
Repeat. Sit here with
if
the
you're
express.
living off
Repeat.
people's,
Repeat that.
I'm giving them this takeaway. It's a nice takeaway. If you
It's
live
a
off,
massive takeaway.
most definitely. If you live off people's acceptance of you, you will die of their rejection. So be you, be true to yourself, and you don't want to wear makeup on your own soul. So do not lose yourself in the pursuit of pleasing others, but honor yourself and be you, do you, because authenticity will make you visible, and being visible makes you beautiful.
You know, I even say Munya Dongo says repeat and dot because it inspiration morning. It massive content morning. With that being said, Kari, so in terms of my parting ways, I would like to say that what good will it do for you to please each and everybody or everyone else and end up losing yourself? That is my parting question
Yeah.
to you. What good will it do to you to please everybody and end up losing yourself? With that being said,
I
Kagiso,
love it.
thank you very much for the massive content. I enjoyed
Always.
a lot. You see, when I said, but you came to give me massive content, and that on its own, Kagiso, is indeed a massive session. Thank you for honoring my call and thank you for being on my show tonight. I think indeed all the listeners, all the viewers got a chance to be massively impacted like I did. With that being said, thank you very much. You deserve a bell. And let's see each other next week Monday with Laura Makafula. Good night.